You might think you know how Rome fell, with scenes of chaos and battles. However, what if the real collapse happened much earlier, silently rolling behind the empire's grand facade? This lesser-known story is about the Roman Republic. It was an ingenious system for its time, filled with advanced political ideas like checks and balances. But its fall wasn't sudden. It decayed slowly, corroded by internal issues long before any external enemies took hold.
This often overlooked period of Roman history deserves attention. Back then, the Roman Republic was a pioneering force. They constructed a complex system with annual elections for consuls and a senate that advised rather than ruled completely. But cracks soon appeared, revealing city foundations that could not support the growing demands of an expanding empire. These early signs were critical parts of Rome's decline, yet they are not as often discussed. Let us dig deeper into how these cracks in the Republic's system emerged.
When we think of Rome at its peak, it's hard not to picture its grand victories and the immense respect it captured worldwide. The Roman Republic, at its height, was a true marvel. It was a place of great wealth and influence, controlling vast areas like Spain, North Africa, and parts of Greece. They were not just known for their powerful military, but also for their rich culture and history. Rome was indeed a beacon to many, admired and often envied. Becoming a paid member to receive full transcripts is one of the best ways to support us and access all these insights.
Despite Rome's achievements, it's important to understand that this system had its weaknesses. The framework was created with a city-state in mind, a far cry from the mammoth their empire was becoming. As Rome expanded, their political infrastructure faced terrible challenges. The system wasn't able to cope with the demands of a vast and spreading empire. This laid the groundwork for the decay that was to follow. Now we begin to see how the flaws in this grand system slowly started to come into play, pushing Rome toward its inevitable decline.
As Rome expanded after defeating Carthage, the system designed for a city-state started to show fractures. The rich elite received enormous lands instead of the soldiers who had actually fought. This led to the creation of huge estates, known as latifundia, which were worked by slaves. The inequality grew as peasants in debt lost their lands and power continued to concentrate in the hands of a few. This was certainly a significant crack in the Republic's system.
The impact on Roman citizens was immense. Many found themselves without land and jobs, leading to a huge influx of frustrated and jobless people moving into cities. At the same time, there was a desperate need for more military manpower as campaigns became longer and more involved. Gaius Marius, a prominent general, broke tradition by allowing landless citizens to serve in the army. This move essentially shifted soldiers' loyalty from the state to their generals, resulting in a gradual but profound change in the military structure and political power balance.
This loyalty shift had serious consequences. Soldiers, once protectors of Rome, began pledging their allegiance to generals who promised them land and wealth. This change weakened Rome's centralized control and paved the way for generals to gain significant influence. The military's loyalty was up for grabs, and those with ambition and charisma could exploit this. It marked the beginning of the end for the traditional Republican values and was undoubtedly a contributing factor to the Republic's decline.
Military reform transformed Rome's politico-military landscape. Generals became key political figures, raising personal armies loyal to them rather than the Senate. This shift was not just a military change, but also a political one. It meant that Rome's fate increasingly rested in the hands of strongmen who could bend their soldiers' allegiance to their will. This development would soon open the doors for figures like Sulla and later Pompey and Caesar to challenge the Senate's authority and, in doing so, reshape the Republic.
In the heart of Rome's troubles, we find Sulla, a name that would change the playing field entirely. His bold move of marching his army on Rome marked a historic turning point. Here was a man unafraid to seize power through sheer force. What made Sulla significant was not just his actions, but how he normalized the idea of dictatorship. By breaking the unspoken rules, he showcased that might could challenge law and order.
Sulla's reign was a chilling testament to how quickly values could be overturned. He wasn't just content with power. He wielded it ruthlessly with prescriptions, targeting his foes with public death lists. These acts set a precedent, creating a political landscape where rulers could retire unharmed after wreaking havoc. But Sulla's influence didn't end with destruction. He stepped down voluntarily, a move that left a curious legacy. Later, leaders like Pompey would learn from his era, realizing that perception, not just violence, was key to control.
Pompey, following Sulla's footsteps, played a different game. Instead of dominating by sheer force alone, he refined the art of wielding power by cleverly crafting his public image. Pompey's campaigns were not just about military victories. They were carefully staged spectacles, convincing Rome of his capability as a leader. His ability to portray himself as the protector of Rome won him public favor beyond what a sword could achieve.
By mastering perception, Pompey enacted changes without a direct threat, using his victories as tools for influence. Through strategic triumphs, like ridding the seas of pirates, he positioned himself as indispensable. His displays of grandeur, like the Grand Chariot Parade, were more than celebrations. They were calculated to leave Rome in awe and secure his place as a power player. This marked a significant shift where narrative and public relations began steering the political wheel, adding layers to the Republic's complex decline.
As we move deeper into the story, we encounter the formation of the First Triumvirate. This was a powerful alliance of three influential leaders: Crassus, Pompey, and Caesar. They weren't just powerful men, they understood that together they could control Rome more effectively. Crassus brought immense wealth into the partnership, which gave them financial muscle. Meanwhile, Pompey added military leadership and popular support.
Then we have Julius Caesar, who wasn't just a strategic genius but a master at reading people. He knew how to tap into the public's favor, not just by force but by offering tangible benefits, things like public games and laws that actually improved everyday life. Together, these three formed an informal alliance that was stronger than any law. They drew lines in the sand that effectively extended their reach far beyond traditional limits. This setup encouraged instability, as power now depended on personal loyalty rather than Rome's ancient laws.
This shifting power dynamics caused administrative chaos. It was no longer a matter of simply following legal frameworks. The triumvirate bent the rules at will because their combined influence was overwhelming. The Senate, supposedly a governing body, found its function eroded as these leaders maneuvered policies and decisions to their advantage. Such actions left Rome scrambling for political stability.
The Republic's framework, initially designed to prevent the concentration of power, began collapsing. By redefining legal boundaries whenever it suited them, these leaders showed that laws were flexible, depending on who held the reins. This trend only reinforced Rome's decay, setting the stage for further turmoil as the power struggle intensified. Now, Rome faced a new reality where might overshadowed legal and traditional structures.
With the assassination of Julius Caesar, a chaotic period began. Caesar's death was thought to be a move to save the Republic, but it instead plunged Rome into deeper turmoil. The conspirators assumed that removing him would restore order, yet the public did not share their view. Riots erupted as Mark Antony stirred the crowd during Caesar's funeral, using emotional appeals and promises Caesar had made to the people, which only heightened unrest rather than quelling it.
This miscalculation by the Senate showed how detached they were from the public's sentiments. Amidst this upheaval, a young and underestimated figure, Gaius Octavius, emerged. He was Caesar's grandnephew and named heir, equipped with ambition and strategic cunning. Understanding both the people's sentiments and the fragile political landscape, Octavian became a key player. Forming the Second Triumvirate with Mark Antony and Lepidus, they aimed to consolidate power and restore some semblance of control to the troubled state.
The formation of the Second Triumvirate marked a shift in Rome's power dynamics, although it was more driven by personal ambitions than genuine governance reforms. This alliance was officially sanctioned by the Senate, but soon led to power struggles within its ranks. It was a strategic response to the chaos Caesar's death had unleashed. The triumvirate undertook brutal actions, such as proscriptions, mirroring Sulla's past tactics to eliminate enemies and cement their authority.
The seeds of civil war were sown during these years, as internal rivalries and opposition against the triumvirate intensified. Each member had different aspirations, making the alliance fragile. Antony's ties with Cleopatra added another layer of complexity, fueling accusations of him drifting from Roman ideals. Meanwhile, Octavian was learning and adapting, using both propaganda and calculated moves to position himself for future dominance. These developments hinted at the deeper implications for Rome's political landscape, pushing it further into chaos.
The tension between Octavian and Antony marked the final struggle for control. Octavian, Caesar's heir, used strategy rather than brute force to gain support. He understood the power of propaganda and crafted a strong image of Antony as a man who abandoned Roman virtues. This portrayal was both strategic and accurate in the eyes of many Romans, making the public wary of Antony's intentions.
Antony's partnership with Cleopatra added fuel to the fire. It was both a political maneuver and a romantic connection, but it triggered concerns in Rome about loyalty. Octavian seized this chance to depict Antony not just as a rival, but as a threat to Roman traditions. This narrative gained traction, leading to one of the most significant battles in Roman history, the Battle of Actium, which decided the fate of the Republic.
The Battle of Actium was a monumental naval confrontation that reshaped Rome's political landscape. Octavian's forces emerged victorious, reinforcing his position as a significant leader. Antony and Cleopatra's defeat highlighted their vulnerability, and their subsequent suicides marked a dramatic end to their resistance. With this victory, Octavian established himself as a stabilizing force, returning to Rome not as a conqueror, but someone aiming to restore order.
Octavian's return to Rome was not about flaunting power, but about calming an empire weary from years of conflict. He managed to portray himself as a restorer of peace and tradition, focusing on healing the Republic's divisions. Octavian's actions paved the way for his transformation into Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. This transition symbolized a shift from a troubled republic to a more controlled Roman Empire, marking the end of Rome's experiment in representative government. If you found this exploration into the lesser-known history of Rome fascinating, please like and subscribe to support our channel. Your engagement means a lot to us. And if you want to delve deeper, consider joining us as a member. By clicking the Join button, you get exclusive access to transcripts and help us keep creating content like this. Your support makes all the difference.